Hi everybody, welcome to another MACcast. This is Paul Kelly, the Group Chief Instructor, talking to your MAC team members. This session is with Ben Cooper, our Chief Instructor at our Dudley Academy and long-time martial artist. Ben's a Jeet Kune Do Black Belt instructor within MAC, and so we're about to go over and have a chat with Ben about his time in martial arts and at MAC. Hi Ben, how are you today?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. So lots of people who are looking at this will know who you are, because you've already, you've been resident in our Stourbridge Academy and our Dudley Academy. Well, there'll be a lot of them, I'm guessing, who won't. So do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are in terms of MAC, etc.?
So my name's Ben Cooper, as you just introduced me. I am currently the Chief Instructor over the Dudley Academy. I have been the Chief Instructor over the Stourbridge Academy, and I have taught in the Halzone Academy a little as well. But I did start in the Dudley Academy originally, so I did train in the Dudley Academy for several years beforehand.
So kind of gone full circle there, Ben, in some respects. Started in Dudley and now Chief Instructor in Dudley.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. That's correct, and it's absolutely fantastic.
So how long have you trained at MAC now?
It's over 10 years. Remembering exactly how many years is hard, but it's around the 13 mark, wow. Somewhere around the 13 mark.
And that's direct, constant now, all that time through with MAC, isn't it?
Yes. It's okay. All the time with MAC.
So I know you've had some other martial arts history previous to that. Do you want to tell us when did you first start martial arts? So
I started when I was actually in primary school. So the last few years of primary school, I did start judo. So that was based in the old St Michael's High School. So I did do judo for a few years. I also went on competitions for the judo as well. We did main competitions. We also done inter
clubs,
academy,
inter clubs. Yeah. I think a lot of people that are watching watching and listening to these, they're starting to see, some of the guys like yourself that have had previous experience. I was talking to Lee from Halzone a while ago, and the experience of being in a martial arts environment today is much different than it was 20 years ago. Much different. Yeah. You couldn't. There wasn't academies on every corner, not that there probably is today, but it just wasn't that environment. It was church halls, it was leisure centres, it was schools, and it was there wasn't the big platforms because the media wasn't able to do it. So things like the UFC or Cage Rage, literally a lot of the competition that you got in with was between clubs that knew each other. So, the club from St Michael's would engage with the clubs from Smethwick or somewhere else like that. And I think for some of our students, the world as it is today was so different for us who've been around it for a long time. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, the clubs back then was completely different than MAC. Every time we started, we had to walk down to the gym to fetch the mats, drag them all the way through the school, back to the place where we had to train, and then we had to drag them back after. So that was a big difference from what it is. It wasn't a dedicated area like MAC is.
I remember going into karate lessons and 50, 60 people being in the class and queuing up to pay your subs, and one long queue all down the room and then they'd have to start the class on time because they only had the room for an hour. So if you were in the queue paying your subs, you were missing your class. But no matter how early you got there, somebody always got there earlier than you. So you were desperately going, oh, come on, I need to do this. I need to pay. None of the kind of dedicated, training facilities that are about today. And I think you and I remember that, and some of the rest of the team will remember that. But for somebody new walking in, it's almost like, well, it's always been that way. It hasn't, has it? It's kind of been, we've evolved so much in, the last 20 years, in terms of academies, in terms of, people, in it as a full-time professional martial artist, in terms of, access to material and things like that. And we'll come to some of that later on. Why did you start martial arts, Ben? What was your motivation originally?
So to start martial arts, I think the original one was my parents wanted me to get a bit more confident, to be honest, and just to get a bit more fitness, something to do, something to work towards. So it gives you a goal rather than just sitting in the zone playing on the what was back then the Mega Drive. so that was the original. The reason I joined into Mac was I missed it. I did miss training in the martial arts, and I did a few searches, and Mac appeared on my screen. I had a quick look at what it was, really enjoyed it, so I made an inquiry, and possibly one of the best things.
I can remember. Sorry, Ben, I'm cutting across. I can remember back in the early days of opening Dudley, and you being a student there, and the people at the moment who will be watching, while we're under this lockdown, will be watching you kind of delivering awesome classes, online. And I think it's worth noting for people like us, the whole story is about the engagement, is it? We've spent years on the mats, having students with you, people training. We very much get a buzz off that vibe. So for us as a group, to adapt and go to an online presence is quite a challenge in one respect. However, the feedback and the kind of things you're doing are absolutely brilliant. And what I was about to say was, I remember back when I first met you, you could barely get you to pull an expression. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of, I'm here, I'm willing to train, and you were always trained really hard. You've always been committed. You've always got stuck into the training. But I would honestly believe people that knew you back then would not believe the Mr. Cooper that's delivering this online stuff right now. So moving on a little bit from that, why do you train now, Ben? You've been training for a long time. What keeps you going? What's your motivation?
One of them is passing it along. So I actually, to see, one of the main ones I do come back to quite a lot is seeing when somebody comes in, especially a younger child coming in, and they've got absolutely no confidence. And as you said, I knew what that was like. I know exactly what that felt like, to be a child with no confidence, even to be a young adult with no confidence. So when they, a few lessons later, when they go out and they're laughing and they're talking to me and they're talking to other students, that's a massive motivational reason for me to keep training, because I have to make sure I'm up to speed with everything that's going on, in order to give the best that I can give to them. That's
I think that's quite one of the things I've said a couple of times now, is that one of the great things I like about being a martial artist, being an instructor, being on the mat, and looking at people, and every instructor has been where that person is. Whether, like you're saying, it's confidence building, whether it's trying to get fitter, whether it's just trying to master a drill, a combination, a technique. Every instructor that's at the front, every coach that we've got within MAC, every instructor has been on that journey. And I think that's quite unique in our environment, because it means as long as we maintain that white belt attitude, we're still able to empathise and share with people. Okay, yeah, we've been there. We all started possibly for different reasons, but we all know what it feels like to be in that situation. I think that's so cool. What milestones do you have through your training, Ben? So, where do you look at it and go, you know what, that was a key point for me, or this is a key thing for me?
There's the main ones, such as the black belts. They were obviously a big achievement. That's the best way to put it. A big achievement.
Absolutely.
Getting to becoming a coach, getting my instructorship, becoming a chief instructor of an academy. That's a massive achievement. But also, I can remember some of the little ones as well. So the first time I managed to do a triangle in a grapple, that was the first time, and it was as if something just clicked, and it was like, oh, it was amazing. Or I remember Mr. Dudley correcting my hook. So the way he used to correct the hook, dropping the foot, and he used to come around just correcting tiny little bits, and I just remember that it does stick in my head, and that they are them little milestones.
Yeah.
And it just, and again, they do motivate me as well, because I can just still remember them as clear as day today.
Some of those are like light bulb moments, aren't they? It doesn't need to be a big thing. It just needs to be, wow, that makes sense. Sometimes that one little thing clicks, and lots of other things make sense, don't they? And I think over the years, for me, I've watched you train. Now you're a high, for me personally, as your instructor, but also as a fellow martial artist, you're a high level instructor. Your hands-on stuff is tight. Your ground game's tight. Your stand-ups, fast and explosive. Do you feel that difference in the way you do things after all these years?
It's a strange one, because it is a gradual build, and then you do get them little milestones, where light bulb moments where you go, whoop. But I was watching a few of the videos that have been taken of me over the past, and I'd only seen them in passing before, and I had a quick look, and I was like, oh, is that what I look like then? And yeah. It is nice. It's nice to see that. But in my own head, it's just I will just carry on going. That's how I see it, as in my own head. This is my path. I'm gonna go down it as best as I can, and I'll bring as many people along as I can as I go.
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
And I think a lot of people, for me, look at martial arts and say, oh, listen, I need to figure out how to fight. I need to figure out how to be tough and all those type of things. Yet, for me, I need to figure out how to just be the best version of me. And I've kind of chosen this route to do it through. But I also think now, for me, after many years of training, that the paying back, the giving back, they're helping people achieve their goals in martial arts has probably become more important to me now as time has passed, because I still sometimes feel like I'm still the same as I was years ago, and I don't feel I'm that much different. And then I'll have a little, maybe my light bulb moment, I'll be watching somebody else these days and looking and going, wow, okay, that person just did that. I watched Kelly Bennett, who's one of our team members, and we were doing some groundwork in one of the team training sessions, and she just hipped away at the right time. So it wasn't about the whole technique for me. It was just about the point that she did it kind of either unconsciously or just because she knew she should. But I could just tell from the way she did it that it was in a system rather than I should have done that there. And for me, something like that can be just as important as, in the training fighters or whatever else, or watching a young student get something. I mean, we, within our Cobs program now, we got 3 to 5 year olds who are hitting, 4, 5, 6 count punching combinations when originally people said they couldn't. Yet our teams persisted and delivered that. Who have you trained with over the years, Ben? So You know, I know you'll have done seminars with lots of people like that. Who did you train with that you felt was an influence, or you know, you think, well, wow, that was a great person to train with?
So training as in seminars. So people like Eric Paulson, he was great to lead the class. It was absolutely fantastic. I've also had Vanessa English, so she just tweaked the jiu-jitsu, and her passion for the jiu-jitsu came out quite clear. So that also pushes you forward a bit more. But to teach yourself.
For those that are watching, Vanessa English is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who's part of the GB family, which Mac we're part of too, and she was teaching some of our team on a team private basis for a while, just so that, you know, it's worth noting that as a team, because we are a full-time team that work together, you know, we train together quite a lot, and we do bring people in from the outside to make sure that what we're saying and showing, we're doing and training in ourselves, because I think that's an important point to make. You've done seminars with Rick Young?
Yes, yes. Yeah. So that again, that it's amazing to watch somebody like that, which means you've got something more to aim for then, so you can see where sometimes your path down the line is a little bit harder to see, but then you can see somebody like that and it's like, yeah, that's what I want to do. So recently there was Ben Jones, and that was awesome. To be fair, that was absolutely awesome. But it's all the instructors, so all the Mac instructors. So, for instance, I can still remember yourself giving me little points. I can remember Mr. Tolley giving me little points, like on the hook. I can remember all of those little bits, or at least some parts of it are really quite clear. But it's partners along the way as well. So a lot of Dudley students will know some like VJ, and he was one of my main partners, to be fair. So he and myself worked together quite well, or at least I thought we did. And we worked together quite well.
Everything was always very fast with you and VJ, wasn't it? Very fast and very committed. Yeah, I do remember that myself. And it's great to know that VJ is still in our Dudley Academy, and still, you know, I know there's a lot going on for him, but he's still there. He's still coming in. And of course, Sam, my wife, I know she was a big part of the Dudley Academy for years and training with you guys. So that's really cool. How do you maintain your passion, Ben? Why do you manage to keep that and keep it going?
That again, it's a little bit hard to think about that, but it's because it's always there. It is always in the background that I just love doing the martial arts, to be fair. I like reading about it. I like researching about different martial artists, especially down our lineage. But it's also, as I said, seeing some of them children going away with a renewed passion, or some of the adults going away with a renewed love in the martial arts, something that they then have passed that passion along, and they are then loving it, which is it's absolutely fantastic. That bit is, especially some of the little ones again with low confidence, and they've gone away, and then they're chattering away to each other or to the parents about what they've done, and that is every single time I see that just boosts me just a little bit more.
I mean, I think we're in the early stages for new students. We're very often saying, aren't we? Look, you know, you need to want to do it, and that want will then turn in that habit that will drive you forward to do it. And then I think when you've trained for a long time, you kind of start to go from martial arts is not a thing that I do anymore. Martial arts is a thing that I am. That for me personally is, I'm blessed. I've got very fortunate. You know, I've got the Mac family around me, the Mac team. I'm lucky to do something that I love. I'm lucky to have got the lineage that I can share with people. I can share with you, and you can share it with people, and our instructor team and our program managers all being passionate about the martial art, but also about sharing it with people. Looking at, you know, we're typing this because we're in lockdown, we're in isolation. You know, with the teams, we're having to do new things. So you and I have known each other for whatever it is, 13 years, and we're for the first time ever talking across well, not the first time, but the first time we're holding this type of conversation across the internet, looking at through a screen at each other. What do you think we've got this current climate of lockdown, I just said, and that. What about your martial art training is helping you deal with this situation?
So for one, it's showing me how to keep busy. So it's not saying, oh, just that's it, done. It's given me a new opportunity. In martial arts, you always see them new opportunities, though, and it's the little wins. So instead of the everybody just sees the black belt, it's not just the black belt; it's the little wins as well, like getting the triangle. That always stuck with me. But it's in today, it's the little wins of today, being able to get in the garden, seeing the first few sprouts of plant coming through.
So I'm figuring from this meeting then, a triangle with a left hook show kind of high percentage techniques.
The triangle used to be, but people got wise to
it. Looking back at your own training, Ben, if you could go back and look over the years of training, what one thing would you share with a student of today? What one thing would you say, listen, if I could have done this better, if I could have known this would have helped me so much more?
So it's hard to go down to one thing, but what I would say is look for the little wins. The little wins help you along the way, and it might seem like a little win, but when you get further down the line, you'll realise they're not just little tiny wins; they're massive wins, and you'll appreciate them later on. So you might not appreciate them at the time, but later on, they add up. As you say, I was very low confidence, but now I can try anything. And it's through those little wins as well as the big wins, obviously. But it's those little wins that keep you going. You find them everywhere. Every lesson you'll find a win. Every single lesson you'll find 1, 2, 3, maybe several wins, and it does help along that way.
Yeah,
and that's what I told myself back then, because
one step at a time, isn't it? But it's very easy to say, listen, guys, take it one step at a time. But when you're under the pressure of maybe not having the confidence or being new to the environment and having to learn something that feels difficult, one step at a time is easy to say, but much harder to do. But I would hazard a guess, I'd say that for most of us, that one step at a time really was the way forward. It's just that we could believe in what we were trying to get to, and the one steps took us there. Sometimes took us one step backwards, but took us there, and we drove through it. So, last question for today, Ben. Do you have a message for your students, for the people that have trained with you, for the families around us? A message that you can share with us?
Yeah, just keep going. That you will hit your goal. Eventually, you will hit your goal. Every goal, as long as it's a smart goal, is achievable, and you've got that team to help you along the way. So as long as we know what your goal is, we can help you along the way. I like myself, as I said several times now, being able to make somebody a lot more confident is a huge goal of mine. So if you tell me that you want to be a bit more confident, that's helping my goal as well as it's helping your goal as well. So it does. So you can bounce off each other, you can help each other along the way, and there's always people within the academy that allow students each other. It's absolutely fantastic seeing them help each other. But just keep going. That's the whole point. Just keep going. Even if you do feel like, oh, it's getting on top of me, say something, and then somebody will help you. I can guarantee somebody will help you.
Okay, Ben, thanks very much for talking to me. Even for us, sometimes as a team, we don't get a chance to have these conversations and ask these questions. We're busy doing our day-to-day stuff. So one of the things that has come out of this situation is the fact that we are able to actually focus some time on just chatting to each other and seeing what's going on. So I think that's it for us today. And I'm going to stop the recording now. So thanks again, Ben. Thanks for the chat.